policeman in Nigeria makes an average of about $150 a month. A Nigerian senator makes an average of about $76,000 a month.
And these are the people you give guns to? They will misuse it. They will misuse the opportunity.
In a context where you have certain groups in the South saying that they will succeed, if you are the president of Nigeria, will you allow state police?
Nigeria will never get it right as long as you pay them these people. You pay them peanuts. We are finished.
For those of you who don't know the story of Chijoke, I'm just going to tell you what happened quickly. So Chijoke was 20 years old in 2012 and he went for a child dedication. He was picked up there and he was allegedly taken to Sars office. When his family went to look for him, they were told that he had been taken to the headquarters. They went there to find him. His mother spotted him being brought into the station. And she said, "That's my child." And the officer in charge of that station, the notorious Nwanko, asked them to boot her and the family out of the premises. And then they were pushed out. Since then, they haven't seen Chijoke again. The next time they went, the officer Nwanko boasted that he shot Chijoke, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. They searched for him. And then some other officers told the parents that it's possible he hasn't died, that the man could just be bluffing. They should bring some money to bribe him. The father brought some money. The officer said the money was too small. The father went, sold his land, sold some properties, raised 3 million, gave it to the man. The man said 3 million was chicken change. And the most horrifying part of this story, if you're a parent, that man, CSP Wafo, made Chijoke's dad to look for Chijoke's body in a river of dead bodies. He made him turn every single corpse upside down, searching for his son. I can't imagine what that man was going through. One part of him would think, let me find this body so that we can have closure. Another part of him would think, let me not find this body so that we can have hope. This is the impunity with which officers have treated us. They came to Abuja to seek justice. The state CID told them they would have to pay money to transport officers down to the state where it happened to investigate. We have no system.
Since 2017, there have been agitations against the police in Nigeria, particularly in the southern part of Nigeria, where a coalition of civil society groups began to complain against police brutality, extrajudicial killings. And that agitation, led by, at that time, a gentleman called Segun Awosoya, made representations to the Inspector General of Police, and there were assurances that police brutality will be checked and that every effort will be made to improve the status, the effectiveness, the efficiency, the human rights record of the Nigeria Police. The Inspector General of Police then promised that the police will be restructured. Nothing happened. After him, the current Inspector General of Police also took a decision to reorganize the police, and the notorious arm of the police, which was the Special Armed Robbery Squad, was now taken away from the states and placed under the command of the police at the center, the headquarters of the police. Young Nigerians are saying that they've not actually seen any difference.
I have a friend, they raped her and she's dead because of this. So you need to put a stop and end to this. 4 of them came out, they were like, "Who, you this prostitute, what are you doing here?" and all those stuff. I was trying to explain to them, I was about to show them my ID card, but they slapped me, like They beat me. They took my money. They picked me inside their van and we drove out. They picked one other guy. The guy came out they had all night in church. They called the guy, you this robber, come here, you won't come thief for church and all those stuff. And me, I'm like, the guy's just making a phone call. Like, you could see that he was outside the church. They picked him, they beat him.
All of those issues crystallized in October 2020 when a young man called, I think, Ekene Chukwu, was maltreated in Delta State.
Now follow them, so they run.
Follow them, oh.
They run.
Did not kill the boy, oh. Save that Augele.
Save that Augele. See them.
009.
009.
For front of
Wetland
Hotel.
They said the police accosted him and it was reported that they killed him. It turned out that he was not killed, he didn't die, but he sustained injuries. The Minister of State for Labor and Employment, who is from that area, later confirmed that the boy did not die. He was taken to the hospital. He was even arguing that, look, this was not a case of police brutality. The explanation was that it was not even the special anti-robbery squad. But young Nigerians thought they had had enough. That became a catalyst for protest. And let's just say in the southern part of Nigeria, civil society groups, human rights groups, reacting to that incident, then launched what they call the Sars protests.
At this point, what can the government do to get people off the streets tangibly?
The truth is that they should listen to us. We want life. We want to live. We are not living.
The first occasion was in 2016. Sars officers came to my house, came to our house to arrest my brother. Like, one thing led to the other, and one of them pointed a gun on my head and threatened that he was going to shoot me if I don't give them chance to go with my brother. They beat me like the way they beat me that day, I can't even tell. Don't kill us, don't kill our brothers. Leave our guys alone who just want to breathe.
The Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations.
We are asking for what we call the 5 for 5. We have 5 demands I'm going to read out to you guys, okay? The first thing we want is the immediate release of all arrested protesters. The second thing, we want justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. Thirdly, we want to set up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct. Fourthly, in line with the new Police Act, we want psychological reevaluation and retraining of all SARS officers before they are accepted back into the police force. And finally, we want the government to increase the police salary so that they are adequately compensated for the work they do. Now, catch this cruise. A policeman in Nigeria makes an average of about $150 a month. A Nigerian senator, on the other hand, makes an average of about $76,000. Not a year, a month. That is over 500 times what the police is making. To be more accurate, 506.6667 times more than a police officer.
I'm an ex-policeman with a salary of 12,500 naira per month. Yeah!
I joined the job 17 years ago. Who spent 100,000, 150 before to get the job. When I got this job, I was already a graduate. And I made a vow that I will not live on bribe. I'll live on my salary. I can't afford my children in private school. I'm a sergeant. My salary is just 63,000 naira. I've not been able to pay my husband for the past 2 years now. Anytime from now, I'll be quit from my house. Who want to live a life like this? So I don't drink, I don't humanize. I have just 2 children, but I can't take care of them with 60,000 naira. How do I take care of 2 children with 60,000 naira?
You buy your uniform yourself?
Yes.
Sorry?
Like me, I want to look neat. I have 3 uniforms, but before I could get this uniform, you pay to your nose. You buy yourself. Tell me. And then no future, nothing. You sick. Sometimes half of your salary is gone on drugs. You can't even go to a good hospital. You can't even go for a good test because you don't have the money.
No health insurance?
From where? Go ask them. No security. You can't. Your children cannot even feed well. You can't even wear good clothes. I live in a Cotton and I work at a Keja. 63,000. If I'm going to transport myself down every day, how much will remain within a week? And these are the people you give guns to. They will misuse it. They will misuse the opportunity.
Okay.
Why do you think the politicians are not saying anything? The same police guys are guiding and protecting them. We put politicians there. Someone will just go there, eat chewing gum, chew chewing gum in his mouth, sleep, open his mouth. At the end of the day, they go with millions of naira. But a policeman who will be in the office sometimes 24 hours, sometimes 3 days, you stay in the office, goes home at the end of the month with 60,000 naira, and you want him to be happy? An angry man that you gave a gun to? Look, let's not forget that these people are Nigerians too.
It's an institution that has been poorly served by the state. If you look at policemen in terms of their remuneration, they are poorly paid. They are poorly maintained. They live in barracks. If you take their barracks and you go on a tour, on an assessment tour, many of these barracks, they are not good enough for human beings.
You can't live in the barrack. You can't raise your children in the barrack. I don't want to raise my children in the barrack. That's why I rented an apartment outside. But unfortunately now I can't even pay.
If you look at the police colleges where they are even trained, terrible conditions.
How much is for feeding per day, for instance?
As at now?
Yeah.
For the recruits?
Yeah.
150 naira.
Per day?
Per day. That is 50 naira per meal. It's too meager.
After the queue for their ration, this is what 50 recruits get to share.
Come to our office. Stay there 1 hour and see the smelling, the mosquito and everything. And at the end of the day, at the end of the month, 60,000 naira. That is 2,000 naira per day.
If we say we want to end police brutality, part of it will be to look at the welfare of policemen and ensure that the average policeman is given good training, well maintained, given the right resources, and when you give him arms and ammunition, he would behave like a human being. So that was part of the conversation around police reform in Nigeria. So it was instructive that the Nigerian youths, with their 5 demands, at least brought up 2. Now, the other issue that the police authorities complain about on their own part is funding. And many Nigerians have been saying that the police would need to be funded properly. Even police IGs, Inspector Generals, one after the other, they've always talked about funding, that they need to be funded properly. But cynics will say, oh, there's also corruption within the police hierarchy. Even if you give them the money, will they spend it?
After they searched me, they could not find anything on my body. One of the Sars officials said I should pull off my shoe and give to him. I told him, sir, for what? Why will you collect my shoe? I had no choice because no one was there to look at what was happening. I was all alone. I put my shoe, but I was murmuring. So one of the police officers, Sars, said, what are you saying? I said, sir, I'm not happy. This shoe is not a military shoe. This is a Nike shoe. Immediately I was talking, the man used his gun to hit me. So I tried to protect my head, not knowing that the gun hit on my watch and my watch got broken. So I'm not happy. They're using this thing to rob us. So President Muhammad Buhari, them Allah, end this SARS, end bad government, end everything.
Call Frank Mba. You can store my number. Bring Frank Mba to the radio. Let me and him talk. Let's debate. He will come here and speak fine English and you think he's doing the best thing. Far from it. Yeah. He's only protecting his office.
But the perception out there is that the average policeman is very corrupt. The policemen that we have on our streets, they call them Oraisa. So if any policeman accosts you, you will need to pay. And the biggest illustration of this is the belief that bail is free. But if you get arrested and you go to a police station, you can be sure that you will not be released unless you pay money.
It is created to make any Nigerian goes there poor, except you will live by bribe. Forget it, nothing will happen. Nigerians will think the police are bad. Nigerians are bad. As long as the right thing is not done, go and bring the best pastor in the whole world. Put them in that police force. Let them pay them this 60,000 naira. The same thing will continue to happen. Imagine 70 years in service, nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. Nothing, not even anything.
There are some people who say, oh, maybe it's because the Nigerian police is called the Nigeria Police Force. Maybe if you remove the name force, it could also recondition the mind of the average policeman. And maybe we should call it Nigeria Police Service. Some people go for that and say, look, it's the quality of people who are recruited into the police. I think to join the police, you don't need more than school start. So people are saying, look, if you are going to give a gun, AK-47, to an individual, it should be an individual that at least has a certain level of discernment. So some people say part of the solution is to recruit graduates, based on the assumption that a graduate holding a rifle will know that his job is to protect the citizen, not to kill the citizen, whatever may be the provocation. Part of the issue with the police, beyond their operation, is also the structure. The law says that there shall be only one police force in Nigeria. In other words, it's a unitary system, it's a federal system.
The Commissioner of Police reports to the IG of Police on a federal level. What happened to the state governor? They provide, the federal will provide police in Anambra State, which is in the eastern part of Nigeria. And they deploy like a Kunle and a Femi, who are Yoruba policemen, and you take them to Nnewi, which is a village in Anambra, or a town in Anambra, and you expect them to catch a thief. If they start chasing this thief and he goes into all the different corners, they're not going to find him because they're not going to know their way around. They're not going to understand, the roads or the system or how it works, But if, for instance, you had, Igbo policemen in Igbo land, you had Yoruba policemen in Yoruba land, and Hausa policemen in Hausa land, it'll be much easier for them to navigate the system. It'll be easier for the state governors to control them.
Most of the time, it's one part of the country that dominates. So people in the South, for example, they don't trust the police. They think that this police that is controlled by whoever is in power at the center cannot serve their interests. So they are asking for state police, that every state should have its own police force and control its own region. Because the Constitution again says that governors are chief security officers in their states. During the Sars crisis, we could see it. The governors were helpless. They had to call on the federal government.
With the Sars movement, they've now put the onus on state governors to deal with it, in terms of the compensation funds and, just putting their police in order. And a lot of the governors are complaining. They're like, well, we don't control the police in the first place, so how can you expect us to clean up after you? We're not going to clean up your mess. And where some governors have taken charge, others have absolutely refused, and they're just like, no, you caused this mess, so you handle it. So I feel like if on the lower levels they're giving more responsibility, they're actually allowed to carry out these functions, I think that there'll be a better system of governance. Even with local governments, the budget, I understand, goes to the state government, so the state government gets the money that is due for the local governments and then they disperse it. There's no way the local governments can carry out their functions, uncompromised. If you know that the governor is the person that holds the key and the money to everything that you're supposed to be doing, what happens is you have to seek permission from the governor to do anything, so where are the checks and balances? You're not allowed to operate independently of the governor. So it just doesn't really make any sense. I think that the way that this country is structured, The lower levels need to be allowed to carry out their functions. They should be given their own budgets and they need to be able to carry out their functions independently. And that way, everybody could be held accountable for what they're responsible for.
It's about power, it's about control, it's about the nature of the Nigerian Federation. And it goes to that original national question about how Nigeria is organized. The police hierarchy, I don't think they also want to cede control. You know, one of the big issues in Nigeria has been about who gets access to the national cake, who gets access to the national treasury. And you must expect that there will be resistance. If you want to whittle down powers, there will be great contestation. And the president of Nigeria is like a monarch. The second consideration is about the integrity of the state. Now, in a context where you have certain groups in the South saying that they will succeed, okay? So, if you are the president of Nigeria, will you allow state police? Will you allow a full decentralization? And every Nigerian president will tell you that, look, Nigeria will not be dissolved under his watch, you know. And the Constitution also says Nigeria is indissoluble. So there are certain state actors who interpret that to mean that if you further devolve power at any level at all, then you are contradicting or you are violating that section of the Constitution. But really, it's all usually about personal, ethnic, and geographical interests.
I'm getting married. Again.
That Police Act 2020 was supposed to address many of the concerns that have been expressed by the people. That Police Act 2020 is very specific. It talks about the efficiency and the effectiveness of the police. It talks about better welfare, better funding for the police. It also deals with the operational guidelines for the police. Some of those include, for example, that except you are a police officer who is a lawyer, you cannot prosecute a case. Prior to that, any policeman could be the prosecutor in a matter in court. That Police Act 2020 also talks about the Miranda rights, which means that, look, you cannot be taken to court or locked up if your rights have not been read to you. That Police Act 2020 also talked about the fact that, look, you can't just be detained for any reason by any policeman. And it also prescribes sanctions for people, police officers who violate the rule.
So clearly, so this was written in 2004, right?
The original Police Act.
Okay, so but the amendments have been made when?
2020.
Okay, is this after the Sars movement?
No, this was not before. The police reform bill was signed into law in September 2020.
Do you want to help build a better Nigeria? Join our database to get access to exclusive content and learn how you can get involved. Click the link below to find out more.
The young people of Nigeria who want to take over power, who want to lead because in their reckoning the older generation has failed. It's a legitimate right. But when you reduce it to power, and you say you want to take power from the older generation, I think, one, it is important for young Nigerians to also make an effort to understand the history of their country. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't teach history. In other countries, even if you are not a student in the humanities, just by being within the community, you learn a lot. You soak in a lot of history. And there are lessons that future generations can learn from history. And I think that part of the problem we have in Nigeria is that we have not made a conscious effort to build history into part of the leadership creation process, the nurturing of young Nigerians for the future. The other point to be made is that when people say we want to take over power, we want to take over power, Now, nobody is going to hand over power to you on a platter of gold. Many young Nigerians assume that the government should invite them into power, that the older generation should appoint them to positions. That's not how it is done. If you are interested in power, then you show an interest in politics.